Hey there, Rabanzo here. Aki Kumar is my guest for this in-between short episode. He has just signed with Sony Music India. We talk about that and more. Let's do it. This is the Unstarving Musicians Podcast. I'm your host, Rabanzo. This podcast features conversations with me and indie music artists. Conversations intended to help other indie musicians be better at marketing, business, the creative process, and all the other things that empower us to do more of what we love. Make music. Cool, you ready?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Aki. Thank you for joining me again. You have some big news to share with me and listeners of the podcast.
Yes, I do. As of, let's say, 3 days ago, I've been signed by Sony Music India for my next album. And they just released my debut music video and song, Dilruba, which is an original Hindi rock and roll song. They've released it worldwide on their channels. So it's pretty exciting stuff for me.
Yeah, man, congratulations. And you and I, we spoke very recently. Those of you listening, you can catch that conversation in episode 113. And Aki had been featured on the podcast before. I won't dig for that episode number right now, but you can find it by searching on unstarvingmusician.com. And before we started recording, you mentioned that this was looming, and we talked a little bit about mentioning it, but we didn't want to just in case. But congratulations, man. I'm super excited for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a very new direction, and potentially puts me in front of a very, very different but yet very familiar market, which is predominantly an Indian market, which is something I've really, really wanted to break into, given the uniqueness of what I do musically. So this is the perfect launching pad for that. Sony is a really big name and recognizable name, and I hope it brings some eyeballs, some views for all this effort that we've been putting in here in the Bay Area. Yeah, sure. And real quick, as you're entering into a market that you've been interested in with a product, the whole Bollywood Blues project, and style that you have going on. A while back, I was teasing you, but somewhat serious, that I predict, someday you're going to be the godfather of Bollywood Blues. Is anyone in that market doing what you're doing? No, I think this would be the very first effort of its kind in years. There have been many cool collaborations in the past by some very prominent and virtuous musicians, I would imagine, who are steeped in Indian traditional styles of music, like masters of the instruments, jazz collaborations and such. But the unique aspect of what I do is that I've come up in the blues scene, which is not something that you're going to find easily when it comes to Indian folks. I must just be the odd man out so far, but I hope it kind of drives a new generation of Indian artists to explore traditional American roots and blues and fall in love with it. Yeah, and equally big, the prospect of getting a whole new generation of fans in that market to get into the whole movement. Well, yeah, that would be nice too. Yeah, and very cool on the video. Well, let's talk about what you can tell so far, what this is going to mean. Beyond opening up the market, are there specific things that you knew about or that you learned since signing, or you were already excited about that are, just new things, I guess, to give any artists who are curious about the whole signing thing, and especially if they happen to be interested in doing it, more close to what you're doing and signing in this specific market? Sure. I don't know how this particular thing happened for me. From talking to the Sony folks, they just discovered me online and found my music online and thought it was, very different from their other offerings, which is why they decided to sign me on. And what did they find specifically? Was it video? Or? I think it was Spotify, but I can't tell you if it was YouTube or Spotify specifically. I'll have to double check. Cool. And it was one of my songs, or an album. So basically, having my work out there and being persistent about performing and getting, I guess, videos and just keeping my name out there through live performances. That's helped a little bit. I know for a fact that Little Village really was the biggest catalyst in making all of this happen, because they've kind of consistently kept me in the limelight, even though it's like not a big spotlight in terms of millions of views and all that. It's kept me in the limelight for the last 2 or 3 years, and the albums have been really well received. So a lot of credit to Little Village for helping make that happen. And what I really want to get out of this is I want to perform live in India and show them that this is not just a project that I've put together in the studio and it's a one-off thing. This is really tied to me, my life show, my personality, and how I deliver that energy through this music. So my ultimate goal, and I'd be disappointed if I'm not able to pull off a good, solid tour of India based on this Sony deal.
Well, I'm sure it's in your reach, and kudos to you for doing all the work that I can sense that you've been doing to keep yourself out there. And what a wonderful relationship that you have with Jim Pugh and the Little Village Foundation. Did I get the name right?
Yes, you did. And I do have a wonderful relationship with him. He's been very, very giving. And so I feel like for forever I'm going to be in debt.
I've got to get him on the podcast. And I've spoken with him before, and we just, he's kind of one of those guys I had to stay on top of for a while. And over time, I just kind of lost track of him, but I got to see if I can get him on.
Yeah, I mean, he's extraordinarily busy. He's putting out 6 to 8 records a year, I think. And, shoot, me doing one album itself is so stressful and leaves me feeling a little exhausted sometimes. For him to do 8 records and for, newly discovered artists. So he's kind of managing artists along the way as well, varying levels of experience, differing personalities, varying expectations. He's fundraising for the nonprofit organization at the same time, and he's doing gigs. So when I hire him, for instance, to play with me, like I did at the San Jose Jazz Festival, I'm throwing a set list that's a 75-minute set list at him, and these are not straight ahead, blues or jazz standards where he can just get up there and, improvise. These are songs. So he's got to now stay on top of the music, and he's working in the studio. So, he's got his hands full, and I don't envy his workload, but his work ethic is really something to be celebrated.
Yeah, he's remarkable. And, I just had, you may find this interesting, I just had Coffee Brown, who is, they just had a release, this all-girl heavy funk band through Little Village.
Oh, yeah.
Skip the Needle, that's what I was looking for.
That's a badass band, man. Those guys are just full on. Man, they will blow any band off the stage. They are amazing, and they're really, I'm really stoked that Jim is featuring them. And it's a big bummer for me. I have never actually seen them live. I've heard the record. I've seen a bunch of their videos, and I'm really dying to go watch them live. So anytime now, I'm going to be out there cheering.
I need to do the same too, because I know that at least a couple of those women are involved in a lot of different things, and so there could be this burst of live shows and then nothing for a while. So I hope that I can get out to see them too. But Coffee Brown's really cool, and she was. It was an interesting story to hear her talk about how the whole little foundation thing came in to their lives and how unusual it was. But it was a good time talking with her. So, what is your band? What do they think of all this? And are they going to get? Will they be involved in a tour, if possible? Will they be involved in a tour in India?
Yes, as much as I can make it happen. I want this to be, a band effort, because at this point the sound has become very, fairly solid, and we're putting out, we're putting on some good live shows. And as much as I enjoy playing with, and we've talked about this in the past, as much as I love playing with and collaborating with different musicians on the road, I think it's come to a point where I now need to represent the music in its full glory, if you want to call it that. And that's, it's not entirely possible if you're playing with folks who have just learned the material. No matter how good they are, and no matter how beautifully they interpret it or render it, there's something to be said for consistency, where you can, read each other's signals and twitches and moods, and really have such a command over the material that even on your worst day, you're performing really well because you've done it so many times before.
Yeah, I have to tell you something that may tickle you a little bit. It's not as good as the last one where I told you I ran into a guy in Panama who was learning one of your songs, but I was going over the kind of welcome email for people who sign up for the Unstarving Musician community, and the welcome email after I asked them, what kind of brought them here, what's going on that led them to sign up. What I share with them is I've had a few blues players on here, including, I'm going to read the list first on there, Aki Kumar, Rockin' Johnny Bergen, Kid Anderson, and Mark Werner among others. And the thing that you guys universally had told me in conversations is that in the blues genre, you can assemble a tour traveling without an entire band because blues has this unique defined set of conventions that it's kind of a universal language. So you find the quality players and the right people, and you can put these things together without dragging a band necessarily with you everywhere. But it's fun. And it's interesting, mostly fun to hear that you're looking to take your guys with you on this. And I'm sure that you've done a lot of the type of touring, as I suggested, that I picked up from you guys who spoke with me on the podcast.
Yeah, and I fully agree with that notion that you can go because it's a common language, it's a common vocabulary. Like, for instance, this October, I'm going to Finland. I'm playing with some top shelf musicians there. And, I might throw in a couple of Bollywood songs, but mostly I'm going to do blues, and it's going to be perfectly good and great, in fact, because those guys know. They know what I'm saying, and I know what they're saying. That works out great. But I feel like the last couple of years, the band has, I've invested in them, they've invested in me, and we've kind of become a team, and now it's time to represent the team on the road. So
yeah, totally.
I hope I can make that work.
Totally. And just to, kind of, I guess, wrap up that whole thing that you guys taught me, you're such a great band leader. So that's one of the components that makes all that work. But the whole point of my story, for anybody who's curious about the whole of it, is what I learned from you guys is that, people like me who are musicians for hire, you learn that language, dedicate some time to learning that language, and suddenly you've opened up your doors to working with a group of people that are pretty prolific at doing these things. And I've actually had some opportunities even here in Panama with a guy from Europe who's come here and played with a local, I call him a Pana Gringo, local Panamanian who has an American parent too, who's a blues player. But they pick me up based on the knowledge that I do have. I'm not even in the league with some of the guys that you may typically get to play with, especially like with June Core, who's so well studied. But yeah, even learning some solid foundations opens up a lot of doors. But how cool for your band, and I know we spent some time talking about them last time we got together, because we were just, I was real curious about how things went with you guys and how solid you were together. It sounds like you really are. Well, and about the video, and we might have talked a little bit about it. So tell me what they did with the video, maybe for people who have maybe not seen it yet. Give us a little background on the video.
Well, I put out the video independently last year, and it kind of, got a little bit of fun traction, I'd say, on social media, but it was really nothing. It amounted to no serious momentum in terms of worldwide views. And Sony watched the video, and they really loved the whole concept. And they published it on their channel just 2 or 3 days ago, and
nice.
It's already at like 350,000 views and going strong, which is more than I would have ever accomplished in my whole life. So that's one great thing that's come out of it. And now a lot of Indian blogs and music portals are writing covering the video. I just received just now as we were talking. I just got a message from yet another prominent Indian music blog. So what's happening now is that video is being broadcast to an Indian demographic, and a lot of positive reviews are coming in about how well it represents that classic retro Bollywood feel, which is really what I was trying to go for. I'd specifically looked at dance videos or music videos from movies from the late 70s and 80s.
That's
things
great.
and I know the wonderful talented actress who worked with me, Nandini Bharadwaj. She is a very accomplished dancer, and so she looked at all of that and helped choreograph some moves. And I had a very specific thing in mind, and it's great to see that people, without me having to tell them, they get it right away. That's very obvious to them what's going on in the video, the storyline, the narrative, and the almost self-deprecating humor in there, which I think is my greatest trait. So
that's great.
I think it's worked out really well.
That's nice. And I know this might be just hopefully a bookmark and a lot of bigger things to come for you in the future. But I guess arguably, tell me if there've been other things that compare, and maybe there are some that compare, but certainly not many things that might eclipse this event where you've been signed. Just in the excitement of it, the beginning here.
This may not seem like it's a musical thing, but two milestones in my personal life are actually tied to my musician life, and I can't tell you how excited I was. And it was basically getting my green card, and then a few years later getting my citizenship in the United States. Those were big professional milestones for me.
Oh, sure.
Because they let me think freely, and I remember the euphoria and the relief at the time, and Sony, coming in and saying, "Hey, here's a deal for you." Although a very different thing, is kind of the same feeling for me. It's like a sense of accomplishment where I've reached a point where I can rest a little bit and then push forward some more.
Oh no, I'm sure the work just begins now.
Yeah, that's actually. I'll touch on that just a little bit. So the good thing about Sony is that they've been open to and very welcoming of my original songs. The Bollywood Blues project really was more or less focused on, covering classic songs in a blues way. But I've been writing songs in Hindi and bilingual songs, rock and roll songs and blues songs, and they're very open to that. So that's a good feeling that that I'm going to get an opportunity to showcase my own music moving forward. And the work, as you said, is I'm in the middle of it. I'm already working on my next music video. It'll be put out very soon. And the rest of the songs have to be wrapped up, and I'm constantly, talking to, interviewing with folks, and so and performing shows at the same time, doing all the other stuff that needs to be done. So yeah, it feels like my workload just doubled, but it doesn't feel so stressful just right now in this week.
Well, and now you arguably have a partner to help do some things for you. I know you're kind of dreaming of having a team that's kind of inside that extends beyond your band, and I know they're a big part of your team. And I know what I wanted to ask for. I'm glad a question came out of that last bit, but what I really wanted to ask was, how long has it been getting to this point for you musically? I feel like it's been, gosh, I don't know if it's been 10 years. For some reason, like 7 years kind of sticks in my head as to when I saw you in the San Jose scene. But how long has this been in the coming?
Well, it's been various. I've been in various modes. I started playing harmonica seriously in 2005. I took my first lesson during 2004, and then I appeared on stage with a very, amateur but fun band, like in 2007, if I remember correctly. So if you count all of that, it's been almost 15 years. If you count, since the time I've been playing full time, it's been like 6 years. So yeah, it's been a few years now.
Well, that's cool. I mean, by all standards, one could say that you were a latecomer to arguably your primary instrument. It wasn't something you were doing when you were 13 years old or anything. And then, and then you just burst onto the scene. That's what I remember. I had been in the San Jose area playing music since, I moved there in 99. I did not play when I first got there. It was kind of like, I didn't really know anybody. And then I went to one of Laura Price's blues jams, I think in maybe around 2001 or something. And I started meeting people as a result. It just kind of motivated me. I started meeting people. So I'm playing for a good while before you bust on the scene, and then you bust on the scene. It was like, wow, this guy's really good. But kudos to you. A lot of hard work I know you put in and you continue to put in. I'm pretty impressed by, I just look at your online presence, and I know that you're doing pretty much all of this stuff on your own. You've had some great collaborators in your band and in the Little Village Foundation and now Sony and your support network. But I know you've done a hell of a lot of work and all the performing. And we were talking about the whole songwriting thing, and here you are getting motivated to do that again, squeezing in time to do that. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. And you've been very kind and supportive, and I've learned a lot from just talking to you. So that's a beautiful thing in itself.
I love that. All right. So people can follow what's going on with you at akikumar.com, AKIKUMAR.com. Is there anything else that we should let them know about so they can keep up with what's happening with this new development in your career?
They should, probably keep an eye on Sony Music India's YouTube channels for future music videos and such, because that's where the big releases will be made.
Yeah, and for any of you that have, never in your life listened to anything remotely Indian in terms of music or entertainment, I might fall in there too, quite frankly. But I think I saw you first doing more traditional blues, Chicago or West Coast blues, and have watched some of this Bollywood blues movement that you're doing. I would encourage all of you to check it out, no matter what your musical tastes and background are. If you want to see some fine musicians and a fine entertainer, check out Aki's work. Aki, I don't know when we're going to talk next, but keep me apprised of the exciting things that go on. And I'm really I feel fortunate that we spoke last time when we did, because this was in the making, and we just sort of ad hoc said, hey, let's talk, when it happens, and we can do this kind of, I'm going to make this probably like an in-between episode, in between the usual stuff, and I think it'll be fun.
That's awesome, man. Yes.
You got it. And next time I'm in your town, I'm definitely going to come out and see you if you're playing, and I'll definitely give you a call, man.
I'm going to find you, hunt you down, and drag you to my jam.
Sounds good. I would be honored.
Let's do it.
All right, man. You take care. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Ciao. You too, brother.
Hey, thanks again for listening. If you are loving the podcast, please visit unstarvingmusician.com/crowd sponsor to learn about the various ways that you can offer your support. And again, if you're a listener, I consider you a supporter, especially if you shared it with a friend. Thank you. Have you heard of Bandzoogle? Yep, they're powering websites for musicians all over the world. Their easy system will get you online fast. They have tons of mobile-friendly templates to help you custom design your site and content. It's built for musicians by musicians. They make it easy to sell merch, grow your email list, integrate your socials, and they offer support from a musician-friendly team 7 days a week. Plans are affordable. Go to bandzoogle.com to start a free trial, and be sure to use the promo code Robonzo to get 15% off your first year. That's bandzoogle.com, promo code Robonzo, ROBONZO. Look for show notes and links to most everything mentioned in this episode at unstarvingmusician.com/podcast. Thanks so much for listening. With a whole lot of gratitude, peace, love, and more cowbell.